I am Greg Schaffer, and welcome to the virtual CISO moment. James Pham joins us today. He is the CEO and co-founder of Opsin. James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. Excited to be.
I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to learn some about some Gen AI stuff and all that. But let's start with your path. How did you get started in the technology field, and then bring us all the way up to what led you to found Opsin and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm actually started as a chemistry. So I was really good at chemistry. I was a chemistry medalist in high school, and in college I went to engineering school in Korea. And then after that, I moved to Singapore, worked there for a couple of years. I always wanted to, work in technology and start a company. So I moved to the US. I went to MIT. There, I taught a few classes on machine learning, and after MIT, I moved to the Bay Area, working for a company called Abnormal Security, where I was responsible for the machine learning platform side of the house, and that's where I met my co-founder, Oz, who has a background in security, and that's how we kind of like get started and brainstorming together, like what different ideas that we can work together, and that led to Opsin.
So tell me a little bit about what Opsin does. I'm reading from I'll lead you in on this. I'm reading from your LinkedIn. Opsin safeguards enterprises from data exposure risks and using Gen AI tools such as Microsoft Copilot, Glean, Google Gemini, and Perplexity. I work a lot with some small and mid-sized businesses that we're kind of like trying to navigate the whole field of like using Gen AI, but using it in a secure manner, in a manner which is like where we're not like exposing all of our information. So can you kind of distill down in more detail what you guys do?
Yeah, definitely. Happy to talk through, what we do here. So when it comes to Gen AI tools such as Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini or Glean or these tools, what happens is when you turn on these tools, it gets set to all the underlying enterprise data and the term that you use, right? Like you want to roll out and to have your customer adopt Gen AI securely is a key here. When you turn on tools like Microsoft Copilot, it index all the data in the enterprise, and a lot of those data are very sensitive in nature. And what that means is that in the past, if a sensitive file is overshared in terms of permissions, it would take people like weeks and months to be able to locate, the right SharePoint, the right folder, the right file, the right paragraph to be able to see that. But Gen AI is so powerful that it can search for all this sensitive information in seconds. Mm-hmm. So in the past, imagine it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, one of our customers said like it's like all the needles are lined up, so you can take it in a way. So that's the risk that we're protecting against, which is around the oversharing of data when it comes to enterprise environment. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, drawing upon that, I know it's easier to find stuff, obviously, but traditionally, like my traditional security mind would be like, well, if we just set our permissions correctly, then there shouldn't be an issue there with oversharing. But why is that statement false that I just said?
Yeah, I think in ideal scenario, what you want to do is you set up permission correctly. Unfortunately, a lot of time it barely the case, right? Especially the bigger you become, the messier your permissions will be.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, and data governance have been a decade-old problem. Like from the security field, we've come up to like different solutions, but it's still there. So data governance has always been a problem, but Gen AI should make it impossible to ignore in a way, right? So you're absolutely correct. If the permission is set correctly, there will be no oversharing issues. But the problem is a lot of time the permission are not set correctly. And a lot of time these are end users problems rather than like the tooling problem. It's not like a Microsoft problem. It's not like a Google problem. It's more like the end users did not set the permission correctly. And I'll give you example, right? So the most notable example when it comes to Microsoft, for example, is someone create a team channel and make that a public team channel, right? Like, so let's say you start a new project with your client, you create a new team channel with your members, you collaborate, and you set it as public, for example. And what happened in the back end is Microsoft will automatically spin up a SharePoint site that is also public. So whenever you communicate or you upload a file to that channel, it will also be in the public SharePoint site. And a lot of time people think that because it had limited numbers of attendees, it's going to be like private and secure, but a lot of time it's not the case. So we see a lot of like public SharePoint site that is available in the enterprise that are exposed to the entire company. Now the difference is in the past, these misconfigurations would take a lot of time for people to find out. But with Gen AI, people may accidentally come across it, right? Like they are working on a slide deck, they're working on an email, then they accidentally come across this. Or it can be like someone intentionally go and hunt for sensitive information. So you're absolutely right. If the end user set the permission correctly, that would not be an issue, but that barely is the case when it comes to enterprise, especially like for smaller enterprise, like SMBs, right? That could be a mess because there usually be like one guy who is responsible for IT and security and everything, right? So it is a very hard journey for smaller companies as well.
Yeah, we of course we refer to that as the principle of least privilege, where ideally we would want to give the least amount of access needed in order to do a job. But I think you touched on something so important that it's not just a large business problem, but it's a small business problem too, as well, is that it's fundamentally impossible to manage these permissions and to rely upon what we in the industry call security by obscurity. It's like, oh, you'll never find it. So it's just like, but Gen AI, Copilot and so forth just blows that away. Well, okay, that's one side of it. You got Opsin. I pronounced it right still, right?
Opsin,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wait, did I say Opsin? I think I put a spin in there. I'm sorry. I knew I was gonna mess it up.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. Well, okay. How do you mitigate that? Because I think it's important. Let me step back from my role, because obviously I'm a virtual CISO and I've been a CISO and all that, and I want to try to understand the tools that I put in place in order to protect, whether it be my clients or the company I work for. How does this work? I mean, without giving away trade secrets, obviously, but just conceptually, how can you use generative AI to better secure generative AI? How do you guys do that?
Yeah, I think let me talk a little bit more on like what people can do without tooling.
Okay.
So that as a small business owner, you can actually go and manage it yourself. So the very first thing that I would recommend folks to do is to check their public Microsoft 365 group and teams. You would be surprised like how many public groups and SharePoint site and all of that are out there in your environment. So that's the first order of business, which is to do an audit of your environment to see what public groups and SharePoints are there, and then see what sensitive information are there. Then the second thing that I would suggest people to do is to find everyone, and so there's this concept in Microsoft, everyone except external users. So you want to find those SharePoint site or like group that have that permission and remove it. And then the next thing is you want to disable sharing link settings, right? Like, so the most common one is anyone with a link, for example. That is a very dangerous setting that you could go to Microsoft 365 Admin Center and disable that features. The next thing is that it might be a little bit harder for a smaller business, but if you have Microsoft Purview, definitely apply the sensitivity labels so that it can help Microsoft Copilot to recognize that, hey, these are the sensitive file documents that I should not index in. So the good thing about Microsoft Copilot in general is that it actually respects the labeling, it respects the permissions by default. So by doing all these tactical steps on your own, that would help you mitigate some of the risk out there. So So that what I would recommend for you to do first, as opposed to like kind of like try and get some like external tooling, see if that works for you guys, and then uh, uh, you can also do a spot check in your environment, right? Just go to Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini, asking about something sensitive, and see what comes back. That's a good one. So
Oh,
like a
well,
lot
yeah,
of
that makes sense. That's kind of easy. You kind of test the controls there. So, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be involved in any tooling. So you can just go there and then kind of like ask, oh, find me password, find me social security number, find me, passport and all of that. So
Hmm.
so I would suggest that people do that first before you go and engage in the other tooling. Um, yeah, and then I think if that the you still find sensitive information and you want more advanced tooling and technical guardrails around the oversharing issue, then you can reach out to me. But I would strongly suggest that you do some of these basic hygiene steps first.
No, I think that's some great advice there. I know though that there are it's difficult sometimes with small and mid-sized businesses to get in deep to do some of the stuff in 365 because they just don't have the
Yeah.
um the way to do it. It would be nice to have like an easy button where you could just click and it would check all this stuff for you, but I guess that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with all these big enterprise tooling, right? Like even for Microsoft, right? They have multiple product line, right? They have Microsoft Purview, SharePoint Advanced Management. Like for you to have that magic button, you have to go to different places to do it, and not just go to different places to do it. You have to pay for it, and a lot of
Right.
time, and a lot of
Yeah,
time,
a lot of times in Microsoft, it's like, oh, yeah, I want to do something, and it's just like, oh, well, your E5 license, you need variant B12 or something with it. It's like, oh, come on! It's just like I'm just asking a simple thing. I mean, their matrix of like license and features and all that, it must be huge
yeah,
and all that, because it gets to be it does get to be confusing. But great advice, and some of these things, I will admit that sometimes the
yeah,
simplest advice is the best advice. And I
yeah,
have never thought to ask Copilot to say, hey, can you find me any social security numbers? I'm going to try that when we're done with this call. I mean, that's just brilliant. But now, having done all
yeah,
that, let's talk a little bit more about. I still want to understand like how Opsin works and how it can help enterprises. Um, I'm reading from your LinkedIn again, providing visibility, continuous monitoring, and remediation for enterprises to safely adopt Gen AI tools. And before anybody like asks, is like, well, Greg, did James like pay you for a sponsorship here? It's like, no, I'm genuinely interested in this stuff. It's like, this is not a commercial. I want to understand how you guys integrate in, because I think this is a huge problem. It's just information right now, and not everybody is going to be able to close all the doors. So tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing or how are going to be doing.
yeah. Definitely, we'd love to talk more. And usually, in these podcasts, I talk more about the problems and the solution that enterprises can do by themselves, rather than talking about Opsin. But happy to give like a little bit of high level about Opsin and what we do here, right? So the very first thing is that we can help you do something called a proactive risk assessment to help you understand where the gaps are in your system and help you to mitigate or remediate those. So some of the manual steps that I mentioned above, which is that you manually check through your environment and see what out there, like those we can do for you. And then the secondly is the ability to continuously monitor your environment to see if there's any oversharing of data, and having an alert to be able to go and reduce time for exposures. So we are working with some of the largest enterprises, and we also have some SMB as well. So we are working with Cascade Environmental, which is a small, medium enterprise based out of Seattle. They are in the environmental cleaning business. So we're working with them. The other one that we're working with is Culligan International. They have about 14,000 employees based out of US and Europe. So yeah, that's briefly about Opsin and how we do it. Feel free to check our website. And also the other thing that I'm going to do, after the podcast, if you share with you a list of tactical steps that you could do yourself first. I think that's the place that you should start first. So I have a LinkedIn post on like how do you remediate and how you kind of try and fix the oversharing issue yourself. So try that out first before trying any other toolings.
Yeah, no, I love that. I had been trying to write down as you went along, like some of the what the ideas were, but I'll share that and definitely share it in the show notes. Because I think a lot of folks are going to want to go to their organizations and say, well, these are great ideas. Let's see if we can try to do this. But I want to kind of expand the conversation a little bit and talk a little bit more about governance and security in general. So we've been focusing on permissions and how that fails to scale, and focusing on how we can do some things to secure our environment. Well, first of all, I'm assuming too that like if you don't have 365, right? If you're running like what is it called, Google Works now, or Google Workspace?
Yeah, Google Workspace, yeah.
There, I don't know why I can't remember that, but there are similar things that they can do in Google Workspace as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the oversharing problem actually happened to all the embedded AI out there. So Microsoft 365 is one of them, but Google Workspace also have issues. Even when you go to tools like Salesforce, Agentforce, or like Movework or Perplexity, so all of these tools that interact with enterprise data will have these issues. And the reason is because it's not the tooling issue; it's the end users governance issue. So when this tooling ingests the permission from a user environment, if the permission are incorrect, then the permission in these tooling will be incorrect. And so that's why like it's not really like a tooling that cause issues. It's end users problem, and depending on the tech stack the enterprises use or like SMB use, they will have that problem because it's across the spectrum.
So I know you've worked in governance and have a lot of experience here. We're talking a little bit about one aspect there, but and that is the protection and sharing of information and the end users and how they share and or don't share and some of the gaps there. But what other aspects of governance, risk, and compliance, just in general, it's kind of picking your brain a little bit here about what AI can do to help folks like myself, like a practitioner. Let me step back and tell you a problem I have. I hear AI all over the place. I mean, I think I see AI toilet paper now. It's like, I mean, I'm like, and I don't know how to distinguish between what's FUD and what's not. I was working with a vendor a few years ago that promised actually they had an AI component for, it was a GRC-ish type product, and it wasn't as effective as I had hoped it would be, and I'm being nice about it. And so I want to try to understand, how can someone like me sift through the marketing stuff where everybody's talking about AI to get to, well, here's where AI can really solve like a few problems. And file sharing and the permissions, you laid out such a great like advice there. But what other areas of information security do you think that AI might be able to assist like folks like me?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it comes down to like what problems are you trying to solve, and I agree with you that there's a lot of toilet paper with AI on it, meaning that every software that you that you have now would say like AI power, and you're not even living in the Bay area yet. So if you drive down a highway, you see like AI everywhere, and it's,
absolutely. I mean, I'm in a little town south of Nashville, and we see AI all over the place. So it's like,
yeah. So I think that when it comes to AI and getting the most out of AI, and things like that. Like you need to find the right AI to the right problem. So it actually had to do with like the problem that you're trying to solve first. So like from a security and CISO perspective, like what are the problems that you're trying to solve? And then from there, find the right AI tools that can, support that. A lot of time people start the other way, which is, oh, I see these cool AI tools. I want to try it out in my environment. Like, for example, there's some automations that I want to try out. There's this and that. But that's a wrong approach. The right approach should be that, hey, I have these problems. Now, like, what tools are there can help me assist it? So it could be like an AI empowered tool, like a lot of startups are doing that, or it can be like traditional tools. And a lot of time, it doesn't have to be AI. And so like having like clarity of the problems that you're trying to solve, and then work back from there is going to be very, very cool, very, very critical.
So let's just say I identified a problem, and all right, my problem is, like, just to pick one off the top of my head, because it's something I hate to do, is I hate doing vendor risk assessments. And the only reason why I hate it is because it usually involves questionnaires, and it involves like a lot of work that we as an industry hasn't gotten right. And there's a lot of like AI stuff out there saying, oh, you can use AI and do your third-party vendor risk management much more effectively, which I get. I think that that's a good application. But how do I know? You said find the right, assuming that we're talking AI tools here, because there might be a tool, like you said, that isn't AI. But assuming that we've determined that an AI tool is what we're looking for, and you said find the right AI tool, how can I determine if it's if what they're saying is AI effectiveness for the problem I'm trying to solve, or marketing fluff? Do you have any insight there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hype in the market in terms of the capabilities of products. And I think sometimes people fantasize a little bit more on like what AI can actually do. And I have background in machine learning. I was at MIT. I taught a few classes on machine learning. So I definitely kind of understand like what the capabilities of this AI system could do. So to answer your question about like how do you assess how effective a Gen AI tools could do? So imagine Gen AI is just another colleague of yours, right? So what you want to do before you delegate any work is that you want to do it yourself. So what that means is that you want to tackle the problem yourself manually. So like in the example that you gave about vendor risk assessment, like you want to do it yourself first, manually, and then you run to the AI tool to see what come back, and then you kind of compare notes there. But like if you like naively believe in AI and just like feed the problem into AI, and you will see that all the answers are super fancy and plausible and stuff like that. So that might not be a right approach, because AI has its problem, right? It has hallucination problem where it can invent answers, which is not nice.
Yes.
Especially in security, you don't want to invent solution or invent capabilities that you might not have. So so I would say that like think of AI is like another junior college of yours. So what you want to do, you want to manually do it yourself, understand the job before you delegate to a person. And it is the same case when it comes to AI. You want to understand the job, understand the problem that you're trying to solve, the outcome that you want, and then you delegate to AI and see how it works. And then that's how you kind of assess how effective a tool is.
And that's actually the perfect scientific approach. You're taking a known control and you're evaluating an issue against the controls. And for you security folks out there, I'm not talking security controls. I'm talking about you have something you're evaluating. Like I used to do back in many years ago. I was an assistant. I guess it would be an assistant chemist or biochemist or something like that. And the company they were making blood analyzers. Okay. And so we were testing products to calibrate these blood analyzers, but we tested the products that we were making against known samples that were the control. And so you know the control is supposed to produce this sort of histogram. Does our product produce the same histogram and can therefore calibrate the machine? So I love it, and that obviously comes a little bit from your chemistry background as well too, I'm sure. So
Definitely. Yes.
well, there's a lot of stress involved with everything that we do in information security, and I'm sure in AI. AI can't take away stress, unfortunately. If you guys figure out a way to do it, you're going to make $1 gazillion. But that just doesn't exist right now. And I always encourage folks that go and do something to decompress. And I know certainly too, it's like starting up a company too, and being a CEO or a co-founder. There's a lot of stress involved in building a company, and you got to get away. You got to take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself first, then nothing else is good. James, what's one of the things that you do to help decompress from the stresses of what it is you do?
Yeah, and in the topic of oversharing, we see the end user problem. Strategy is also an end user problem.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
So like starting up a company or like working at the CISO in a company is not the issue. The issue, the end users, like how you internalize it and how you kind of take it in and how you kind of like put pressure on yourself. So that's why I said it's an end user problem. And I think the way to do that is so two things. So one is that to be physically fit. So that means that eating healthy food as well as exercising. That is so critical important. Personally, like I do a lot of jogging and running every day. So try to do at least like 30 minutes of jogging and running, and then like don't eat junk foods. So important.
Yes.
So that is like on a physical aspect, and then on the more kind of like a mental aspect as well. It is all about the journey. As long as like we are having fun, that all that matter. Like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Like you live to fight another day. So think of it that way. Like even in security as well, right? Like sometimes that it's really bad day, some incident happen, and then you be like, okay, today is bad, but if I go back. Doing some exercise, take this, go to sleep. Tomorrow I have another day to fight. So like, just think of it like, okay, it's just a journey, right? Like everyone is on different journeys, and this is the journey that I'm on, and I enjoying it, and that's what matters. So that's what I would say. Like, take it a little bit easy on the mental front, because again, it's an end user problem. So you don't want to create a problem for yourself. And then secondly, like, for the mental to be stable, the physical had to be there, and that's where like eating healthy and exercising is critical.
I think the you pointing out recognizing it's a journey. It's so. I mean, the physical aspect is critical as well too, but not many people point out the journey aspect, because that's one of the pieces of advice that I give folks today. I look back on my career, and I'm towards the end of it. I'm 58 and thinking about what the next chapter of my life will be like, in some, not immediately, but getting close. But so many times I obsessed over something in the journey, and I didn't take a moment just to sit back and like, you know what? I'm never going to be in this spot again in my career. Yeah. And it might be a little bit stressful, but it's like, that's all about living. It's just like, if it was all easy, it would be boring. So I think you're right. We lose the ability to be present, and then we stress because we're not present. So I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and the thing about a career is like exactly what you said. Like you might never be in the same place, same position in a career again, as opposed to like a place that you visit. Right? Like if you go to like Italy, like you can visit again. But like where you are in your career right now, probably you're not going to go back there. You will be some different places. So like just put that in perspective, right? Hey, I only experienced this once, so I might as well enjoy it, like good or bad, right? So
those are very, very wise words. Well, what do you got as far as future plans, James? What's coming up?
Well, we have a lot of expansion to go. So we are ramping up our hiring. Right now, we got a new funding not too long ago. then we're expanding to the East Coast.
Wow.
I mean, I've been there. I've been, going to the East Coast quite often myself. But we are kind of looking for account executives and hiring engineering and things like that. So what next for us is to really expand the team, given how big of the problems embedded Gen AIs are for enterprises, and we truly believe that this is the biggest threat for the adoption of Gen AI, and we need to keep expanding the team to be able to support the love and the need from the customers that we've been serving. So that's what next for us in terms of future plan for Opsin.
That's great. I tell you, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. You've brought some great advice. I'll put that in the show notes. You'll send it to me as far as steps to look at. But really, great nuggets of wisdom, and love your approach. And I'm sure that Opsin is going to be wildly successful. Let me know before you guys go IPO because I would like to invest in it. Or maybe let me know before that and still might want to invest in it. But just wonderful stuff. Really appreciate you spending time with us this morning. It's been wonderful.
Likewise, Greg. And for the folks in the audience, like if you want to learn more about the problems and issues, feel free to reach out to me. Usually, I would help folks to be able to adopt Gen AI. And like what Greg said, is not a paid consulting, so you can reach out for me for free, and I'm never trying to pitch people products. So reach out to me and I see what I can help you with. Some of the tactical stuff I will share with you so that you can follow it offline, but you run into any issue with adopting Gen AI, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Have a good one.
Everybody, stay secure.